Hey guys, it's Inigo here and welcome to my channel. Today I want to make a video about my Finnish language learning journey so far. I want to make this video because I know there might be people watching that are a little bit further behind in their journey, or that they're just starting, or maybe they've been learning for longer than I have but just haven't been lucky enough to have the time. Maybe you have children or you're working full time, so you might not have had as much time as I have to learn Finnish so far. So I'll basically start off in 2020, late 2020, I started learning Finnish for the first time, and I did that using an app called Duolingo. Probably most people will be familiar with that app if you are trying to learn Finnish. I think I started using the app as soon as the Finnish course came out, so sometime in 2020, some kind of late, like maybe late summer or just after summer, I started using it. The app is really good, especially at the beginning. Like, it helps you to learn and get used to and introduce yourself to new words and starting to put those words together. I guess the only problem is there's not really any theory, so you're not learning by being taught how to do it or why you're doing it. You learn by making mistakes, and then you self-correct by seeing what the mistakes are and then learning not to make the same mistakes, essentially. Which it works. Like, I definitely learned Finnish from it, but I spent maybe three and a bit years using Duolingo, and if I'd done some courses that I've done like more recently, I probably could speak pretty good Finnish within the 3 years easily. So it's very good, but in my opinion, it should be like a supplement to your main studying. So after Duolingo, or the next thing I did after Duolingo, I still kind of use it a bit. But the next thing that I did, so I moved to Finland this year, 2023, in February. I got all my permits done and my residence permit, sorted out my bank accounts and things like that. So I think I probably started learning Finnish in April, maybe. I started doing courses, and I did an evening course at like a local community centre sort of thing. They do evening classes, like all kinds of evening classes, and like classes for adults and probably children as well, but I'm not too sure. But anyway, I went to this place like I'd say 2 times a week, and we did about 2 hours, maybe 2 hours and a quarter every session. And then we would typically have a little bit of homework that we would do over the weekend. So we'd have like our first session early in the week and our second session late in the week, and we'd get homework on the second session and usually have to do it all by the first session the following week. That course was really, really good. It was my first opportunity to meet some new people and to start talking Finnish, which I wasn't doing using Duolingo, and to actually start being a bit stricter when using Finnish. So for example, to anyone that isn't Finnish, you'll know that it can be a little bit complicated to put the dots on top of your vowels, the pistet, the full stops. So it can be a little bit difficult to know when to put them on, and on Duolingo you don't actually need to put them on. So I basically didn't try at all. I didn't bother. I wasn't really caring, because on Duolingo it allows you to not do it. So for like 2 years I was trying to practice Finnish without making sure the letters were right. Okay, so this was my first opportunity to start like practicing that, and I think that really helped me a lot. And now when I'm trying to read, and actually I'm writing myself as well, it just comes a lot more naturally. So that was really useful for that, and then also I started learning like theory and grammar, and through that course we would use these Suomen Mestari books. I've used these books on 2 different courses now, and I think they're quite well known to anyone that's been trying to learn Finnish. Personally, I think these books are actually really good. I've now started using a different book. I'll show you. So I've now started using this book, which I'd never heard of until I started doing the course that I'm on now. Personally, I'm not sure if this book's that good, but it might be too early to say. I've not really invested a lot of time in it, but this kind of seems like a book that's trying to help me to get into work specifically, and like I don't know if there's really much in terms of like theory or grammar. These Swam and Mastery books are really good because they give you a lot of information on like how to start putting words together. So in this Swam and Mastery book, for example, this has 9 chapters, and all the chapters are set out in exactly the same way. So I've got Swam and Mastery 2, there's 3 altogether. And by the time you finish all 3, I think you should be to that sort of magical like B1 level that everyone wants to get to, which allows you to get or to pass your citizenship language test, the UKI test. So by the time you do all 3, I think you should be at B1. So they're all set out the same. This one's got 9 chapters. Probably Swam and Mastery 2 is similar, if not the same. Each chapter starts off with a story, which is usually quite simple, and it kind of is targeted towards your level. So they will basically, for example, at the start, they won't do too much in past tense. They won't use multiple objects. They really try and keep it in as basic Finnish as possible. And you'll have a story, then you'll have some theory, then you'll have some questions. And by doing the theory and the questions, you should then be able to come back to the story, and then it will be a lot easier. So the first time you read the story, you might understand 10% or 20%. Definitely, it's not typical for you to know everything when you start reading the stories, but by the time you go through each chapter, you should be able to come back and it becomes a lot easier. So I was really put off by these books when I first moved to Finland because firstly the price, so these are 60 euros each, which isn't cheap. I would say it's probably worth it because you only need to buy 3, and if you're making a commitment to learning Finnish, I think it's a good investment, and it will allow you to then access some courses, and the courses that I've used that are good use these books, so you're probably going to have to buy them anyway. But yeah, these really kind of put me off because there's no English in there whatsoever, but I think it's still worth persisting through. Even if you're going to teach yourself, I think it's good to maybe go through each chapter, look at the theory, try your best to understand it, and there should be like a title about what kind of theory you're learning, what kind of grammar you're learning, and maybe you can Google it and look at a lesson online that can help you understand it. But we used these books anyway in my evening course, and that evening course was actually very good, well taught. Most of my class were quite engaged as well. There wasn't any like bad behaviour. Everyone was relatively serious, and it was just a good chance to meet lots of new people. After I did my first course with Swam and Mastery, I guess I started in my evening course. I started on the second half of this book, so I've never actually done the first half, but I did the second half in the evening course. And now I've started Swam and Mastery 2. I have done, if not the whole book, then pretty close. I've done this book with Helsinki University. So Helsinki University have some summer courses, although I think they run all the way throughout the year as far as I can tell. I would say that the courses with Helsinki University are the best courses that I've done so far. They are very quick, they're intensive, they're affordable, so they were probably as affordable as, or same price as the evening courses that I've done before. And you can probably develop the quickest through them. So I'd say price-wise it's about 100 euros, maybe just over 100, and my evening course was probably similar, maybe a tiny bit more. But they usually run about 4 days a week, and each day you've got about 3.5 hours of learning. And every day you'll get homework and an okay amount of homework. So you should be really engaged. It's quite a full-on 3 weeks, so there'll be times where you feel like really exhausted. But I definitely recommend it. And I think if you want to learn Finnish quickly, you could probably in 1 year learn Finnish just by going to these courses. Maybe even quicker than a year. I'm not really sure. I don't know, maybe it's not really possible to learn Finnish much quicker than a year, but I think these are brilliant. The only problem probably is that with these courses, they might have some in person, I'm not sure, but I've only ever done them online. And you don't have a lot of time to practice the material that you've learned, and you don't have a lot of time to talk to people in Finnish either. So it's one thing to kind of learn all the rules and learn how to put things together, but if you're not spending time like actually practicing doing that, it's not a natural thing for you to do, and it's really hard for you to put those things together. Even if logically it makes sense, it just doesn't come naturally. But yeah, definitely the courses with Helsinki University I would really recommend, and I'll try and put a link in the description, which you can use to find like local courses around you, and that's what I use to find the courses that I've done. So definitely those courses are really good, and I would recommend to anyone that's trying to learn Finnish to do those courses. So moving on, the course that I'm on now. So I started this course about 3 weeks ago, and this course is with the TE-toimisto, which is basically the employment office in Finland. And I started this 3 weeks ago, and it's not been brilliant in terms of actually learning Finnish. I've not really learned a lot in 3 weeks, whereas in the other courses I've done before, you really learn a lot and really quickly, especially grammar. I guess to try and talk about positives, I have learned a lot of things, and I've learned a lot of grammar, a lot of words, especially related to work. And it has also been really good for me to talk more in Finnish, and the teacher speaks a lot more in Finnish, so there's really not any English going on at all in the classroom. I mean, there is, but not a lot. So in some of my previous courses, and it might be related to the level, so maybe we're just at a level now where a lot more communication can happen in Finnish. In the previous courses, we probably weren't good enough to communicate fully in Finnish, so maybe a lot of questions and conversations were happening in English just because of the level. But either way, to try and say the positives, the course with the TE-toimisto has allowed me to start talking a lot more in Finnish and listening to Finnish and just being fully engaged in Finnish. So this course that I'm doing is 5 days a week. It's 9 till like 1:45. So it's actually a lot shorter than I thought it was going to be. They told me it was going to be quite a full day. I mean, it's pretty good. It's probably the longest days that I've done so far. But it could be longer. We could be learning more. I don't really think the book that we're using is particularly effective to help me learn Finnish. Although, like I said, I'm only 3 weeks in, so I still have time to change my mind. So along these courses, I've met a lot of different people who've been learning Finnish for all different times. And it's really hard for you to know when you're learning Finnish, like realistically, how long it's going to take. When I first moved here, not when I first moved here. When I first met my now wife, and I was thinking about learning Finnish, I thought, okay, maybe it's going to take me a year. And yeah, a year's a long time, but it's worth it. I'll just invest a year and fine, that's okay. I'm kind of 3 and a bit years into my journey now, and I've met a lot of people who've been learning Finnish for a long time, way more than a year. I think it can happen in a year. There are people that learn good Finnish within a year, but for me, living outside of Finland for so long, for most of that 3.5 years, it's very difficult to learn Finnish when you're not in the country, because of these courses and things like that, and you're obviously working and you've got other commitments in your own country. But I would definitely recommend for anyone that's living outside of Finland to do courses with Helsinki University online. So I've done a lot of courses in the past, or 2 courses in the past with Helsinki University, and both of those courses, there were people that were not in Finland at the time and they were on the courses and they had pretty okay Finnish. So I would definitely recommend that. You'll learn a lot, way more than you could learn doing Duolingo for 3 years. You could probably learn more in 3 weeks with Helsinki University. So definitely do that, especially if you want to learn Finnish quickly. It's relatively affordable, like I said, and yeah, like that's just a really, really good way to do it. Now that I've started doing the course with the TE-toimisto, I've met a lot of other people that are now living in Finland, and we're all kind of in a similar position. So there are people that have been living in Finland, and some that have been working in Finland already, people that have been here for like 5 years, and we're all on the same level. And it can actually be really difficult to learn Finnish, especially because if you find work quite quickly, the job probably doesn't require a lot of Finnish, so you're not going to learn a lot of Finnish while you're doing your job. And actually, I have a friend, or well, a few friends that do jobs which are for international companies, and their company language is English. So they've been here for a good amount of time, you know, really smart people. They could definitely learn it quicker than I can, but they just don't have the time, and in their job they don't speak any Finnish. It's not a requirement whatsoever. So it's been like just really easy, really difficult for them to do that. And then obviously, like if you have children or things like that, it's really difficult. So from my experience, I would say definitely anyone that's trying to learn, just please try and find some online courses. You can find some in the evenings. If you're not working at the moment, then do some during the week. I think for me, like I had a quite difficult situation. Like both of my parents passed away in the last sort of 2 years, and when I first moved to Finland, I was kind of trying to maybe rest a bit. I didn't want to I was trying to just not do anything and not work or not overwork myself. But once I did start to engage in things, it was really good to start doing courses. And now I've kind of slowly progressed, and now I'm doing a course with TE-toimisto. I think probably realistically, if you are looking at doing a course with TE-toimisto, from what I can gather, the main focus of these courses, so the course I'm on starts at level A2.1. So if you're doing a course that starts at level A2.1 and your aim is to go to B1 by the end of the course, I don't know realistically like if that is attainable. Again, I've only been on the course for 3 weeks, so there's still time for me to kind of change my mind on that. But basically, I think the aim of the course isn't really to get you to B1, it's to get you into work, which obviously like is good and you want to get a job. But if your focus is to learn the language first, because like I said, it can be hard to learn Finnish once you're in a job, especially if the job requires very little Finnish and the company language is not Finnish, then I would recommend just putting 100% into learning Finnish. I would probably say I could have tried a lot harder. So because of my situation that I said with my parents, I was just doing the minimum for a lot of the studying that I've done in Finland. But now I'm kind of moving beyond that and like building up slowly. It's really good for me to start doing like extra. So when I'm at home, like what I used to do maybe when I wasn't feeling so energetic, I would just like put something on that's in Finnish and just listen to it in the background, but I wasn't really like actively listening or really paying attention. Whereas now I think what works best for me is just going through some of these books, going through like a page and just trying to do some exercises. Like even if I get it wrong, even if I have to use Google Translate, I'm learning. Like I've definitely picked up a lot of vocabulary. Another thing is just to get like a book. So they've given us this booklet that tells us a lot about like what to expect about work in Finland, like how you should behave, how your employer should behave. It's not like a book to help you learn Finnish, but there's a lot of content in here that I don't know. I could not read this book without Google Translate. So I've started going through this book now and like doing a page at a time. And if there's a word that I don't know, writing it down in a notepad. And that's been really helpful. So I think if you're early on in your Finnish learning journey, it would probably be good to just invest in some, like, I don't know if I have any here, probably not. Maybe even a newspaper. So I have a newspaper. So these newspapers come through the door like every week. These newspapers come through the door every week. You could just try your best to like read a story. I think this is just advertisements. Anyway, my point was you can probably buy like a magazine, like a kids magazine. So I would sometimes go through like Donald Duck magazines, like children's magazines, just try and like read a page, translate it into a book, and just try and learn new vocabulary by doing that. And it doesn't feel like you're learning, but definitely I am getting better without me really knowing that it's helping. Basically, the more hours you put in, and not just like lazy hours, like with some music in the background or like a Finnish TV show in the background when you're not actually paying attention to it, like actively reading, like really paying attention, trying to understand, trying to read it, translating it so that you understand it, and trying to reread it, translate it, reread it. And eventually maybe you can understand a page and then go through the next page and go through the next page, and you'll definitely get better. So that's kind of my story so far. I hope I haven't missed out anything super important, but I think ultimately, if you want to learn Finnish quickly, do a course with Helsinki University or an evening course that's local to you. You're going to learn a lot and learn really quickly. You're going to meet people. When you do these courses, really try your best to talk in Finnish. It can be really easy and safe to just speak in English the whole time. And even these videos I'm doing, I speak all in English, and I probably will do a video soon in Finnish, especially because I saw that I got like 200 subscribers recently, which I'm really kind of shocked about. So maybe I'll do some. I saw I had 100 and I was surprised. Now I got 200. So maybe I'll do a video as like a thank you and maybe talk as much as I can in Finnish. I'm not brilliant, but I'll try my best. But yeah, anyone trying to learn Finnish well and quickly, do the courses. The TE-toimisto course is fine, it's good. Obviously, like enroll in it if you don't have a job and you want to learn Finnish. Like I don't have a job yet, so ultimately it will be helpful for me to get a job, and I'm learning Finnish along the way, but I'm definitely not learning Finnish as quickly as I could be. And I may even do some courses on the side just to make it a little bit quicker. I've been looking at some courses that are starting beginning of next year, so maybe I'll start another course. But yeah, that's kind of my story. I've met a lot of different people, probably 100 different people from all over the world, and most of the people that I've met have been in Finland for over a year. In my course that I'm on now with TE-toimisto, I feel like I might have been in Finland for the shortest amount of time. And there are people that have been in Finland for like 5 years already that are on a similar level to me. So if it's been taking you a long time, and I'm sure for me it's still going to take a long time, like don't be upset. Like it's just a language that takes a lot of time. Immerse yourself as much as possible. Try and talk in Finnish as much as possible. And even to be like level B1, it might be helpful to know that a B1 level, you don't have to be perfect. Like, you're going to make mistakes when you talk. That's actually part of like what's understood to be B1. Like, you're not fluent, you make mistakes, but you understand the basic principles of different grammar in Finnish. So anyway, this video is too long, so I'll end it there. Tell me your own Finnish language story in the comments below. Let me know what's worked well for you, maybe what hasn't worked well for you, how long you've been learning it, where you've been learning it, and maybe what your plans are to help you learn it in the future. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.